Community Health Workers Training, Cardiovascular Health and Diabetes, Mini-Module 8C, Physical Activity. Learning outcomes for this mini-module: explain the benefits of physical activity, list recommended amounts of physical activity for adults, and describe ways to support community members to increase their physical activity. In earlier sessions, we talked about how important physical activity is. We've learned that being physically inactive puts people at risk for heart disease and stroke. Inactive adults have a higher risk for early death, heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, depression, and some cancers. Men, women, and children are less active now than in the past. Fewer than half of all adults in America get the recommended amount of physical activity, at least 150 minutes a week. Regular physical activity is important at all ages. Middle-aged and older people benefit from regular physical activity just as much as younger people do. So if you had to pick just one behavioral lifestyle change that people could do to get the most bang for their buck, it would be to increase their physical activity. Physical activity lowers the risk of stroke, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, both developing heart disease and dying from it. It lowers the risk of having a second heart attack after you've had one. It lowers the risk of depression. It lowers blood cholesterol overall and triglycerides, but it raises the good cholesterol, HDL. It also helps people to learn, actually. It helps the brain work better, and it helps with memory. It lowers the risk of Alzheimer's. There's other benefits of physical activity in addition to all of those. People who are physically active have more energy, you feel better about yourself, you can control your blood glucose better, you sleep better, you build healthy bones and muscles, you control your weight easier, you improve your mood and reduce stress, and you increase your chance of living longer. So take a moment and listen to this and watch this short video about both the benefits of physical activity and how to start becoming more physically active if it's been a while. When you're done watching the video, come back to the PowerPoint.
Did you know that regular physical activity reduces the risk of dying prematurely by 20 to 30%? Sedentary behaviour includes computer use, watching television, and mobile phone use. It's one of the most important risk factors for heart disease. Physical activity is a keystone of cardiovascular prevention. It helps you to lower your blood pressure, your stress levels, to lose weight. It gives you a healthier heart and more energy. Small challenges are the best way to achieve the 150 minutes of exercise a week. Here are 5 easy tips to be more active. Walk every day. Start with 10 minutes and add 1 minute each day until you reach your goal. Choose the stairs. Monitor your number of steps. Use a bike for short distances. And if you have to use the car, park further away and walk a bit. Exercise cannot be replaced by medications. So don't wait. Get started now.
Physical activity recommendations for adults. Assuming that an adult has no health restrictions, it's recommended that they do 150 minutes a week of moderate physical activity. And moderate physical activity means that the heart beats faster than normal, but that you can talk but not sing. So you're not so out of breath that you have trouble talking, okay? But you're a little bit out of breath and your heart should be beating faster. So some examples of moderate physical activity include fast walking, swimming at a leisurely pace, actively playing with kids, so playing tag or running around a playground, playing doubles tennis, bicycling at 5 to 9 miles per hour on roads that are level or have very few hills, And then certain kinds of housework and chores, such as scrubbing floors, washing windows, raking leaves, or mowing the lawn. That 150 minutes a week can be broken up really in almost any way. So, for instance, someone could do 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week if they wanted, or if they can't fit in 30 minutes a day, some days, they could do 3 10-minute periods of physical activity during the day, as long as altogether the time would add up to 150 minutes or more per week. Now, one thing that's important for adults who are starting to do physical activity again for the first time, if they have health conditions, they should check with their healthcare team before starting, especially if they have arthritis, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, any pain or discomfort in the chest brought on by physical activity, dizziness, lightheadedness, or breathlessness after just mild activity, or any other health problems. If they've had a heart attack, it's very important that the doctor help them plan a safe activity program that increases activity gradually. And also just to know that it's important to drink plenty of water before and after exercising, even if you're not thirsty. Sports drinks are not necessary, okay? If the person's already feeling sick, like with a fever, they should not exercise at that time. It's super important to do something that you enjoy, and it may take a little bit of trial and error before you find something that's fun. Oftentimes doing physical activity is more fun if you do it with somebody else, and that helps to keep you accountable and actually going for the exercise. But encourage your clients to really try different things until they find something that they have fun doing. They don't have to do the same thing all the time. In fact, sometimes it's better to do different kinds of things because different things use different muscle groups. So here are some examples: is walking, bike riding, doing Tai Chi, dancing, yoga, water aerobics, swimming, weight training is one that I don't have a picture of. Gardening is another option. So really just people should keep trying things until they find something that they like. For many people, walking is the first thing that they will settle on because it doesn't require any special equipment, just a comfortable pair of shoes, and it's free. And it can be fun, especially if you walk with somebody else, or some people like to listen to music or listen to a book on tape while they walk. Some people get on the phone and catch up with friends or family while they walk. And one goal that people can set for themselves is to walk 10,000 steps a day. As with all other forms of physical activity, it's important to start slow and work your way up gradually. Sometimes somebody decides they're going to run a marathon and they start out training so hard that first week that they either injure themselves or they get so sore that essentially they give up. And so that's really not the goal. The goal is to start slow and gradually increase as your endurance gets more, as your breathing gets used to activity, and as you can tolerate increased exercise. One way to help people become more physically active is to really help them make a very concrete plan. And on the right side of this slide is one example of a physical activity plan that you could use with people. And we'll do this in our online class. We'll use it. So the steps of the plan are really to review the person's goals. So ultimately, where do they want to go? In other words, what would they like to be doing in terms of physical activity 6 months from now or a year from now? And then I like to have them break that down. Okay, so what does that mean for this week? What does that mean for a month, 2 months, 3 months from now? And you're going to help them to kind of make a plan where they're gradually increasing their activity. Help them anticipate roadblocks. What might get in the way of their being able to follow that plan? For some people, it may be having enough time, right? If you're a busy mom and you're working full time, you come home, you have to pick up the kids and make dinner and feed them and get them to bed. It may be dark and you may be exhausted by the end of the day. So you have to really help them think through what are the possible roadblocks. Why haven't they started being physically active before? And then you need to help them create a strategy for how to overcome those roadblocks. And that's going to be very personal. It depends on what the roadblocks are for any given individual person. You might suggest some ideas to them, but ultimately they have to figure out a strategy because they're the ones who are going to have to live it, and they're also the ones who know their own life best. You want to encourage them to track their progress. They can do this online with an app on their phone, or they can just write it down in their printed calendar. They can put little check marks or little stars on the calendar to say how far they've gotten. And then finally, encourage them to reward themselves, say after a week or after a month of meeting their goals. What are they going to do for themselves? Are they going to go out to the movies? Are they going to go buy themselves a new pair of running shoes, or whatever it may be, whatever appeals to them? Another important message to give to your clients is that every little bit helps. Okay, so even though the ultimate goal is for them to be doing at least 150 minutes a week of moderate physical activity, until they get to that, every little bit helps, right? So for instance, things they can do right away that don't take a lot longer are to take the stairs instead of taking the elevator, park further away from their destination and walk, bike to nearby locations instead of taking the car. When they have a coffee break, walk around the block during that coffee break. If they're watching TV in the evenings, dance during the commercials. Or take a walk while they're talking on the phone. So if they're going to call somebody, or even if they're going to have an in-person meeting, talk to that person and say, hey, let's have a walking meeting. Another thing that they can do, especially if they tend to watch a lot of TV in the evenings, is to put a treadmill or a stationary bike in front of the TV so that they can do both. So all of these things ultimately add up, and they can really help somebody get in shape gradually. What about children and teenagers? Well, they should be getting 60 minutes of activity throughout the day. So they should really be getting more activity than adults. And in terms of pregnant women, it is safe for pregnant women, unless there is a particular problem with their pregnancy, it is safe for them. And in fact, it's important for them to continue to be physically active during their pregnancy to stay healthy. And generally what we say to them is that they can continue to do any non-contact type of sports or physical activity that they did before they got pregnant. So obviously we don't want a pregnant woman to be, let's say, downhill skiing or horseback riding, where if they fell off they could injure the fetus. But certainly things like walking, jogging, swimming, even things like playing soccer are safe. And I want to point out to you the picture of the little girl on the left, right? So physical activity doesn't just look like playing a team sport. It doesn't just look like running, or doing something where you have a goal. Sometimes it just means running around while you're playing, or in this case, jumping in and out of the pool while you're playing. And as long as you're moving around, you're getting the benefits of physical activity. So what is the role of community health workers to try to help our clients become and stay physically active? Well, you might be working one-on-one with your clients, or even teaching them in small groups and small classes to explain the benefits of physical activity and how important it is really for all their health, for every part of their health. You can help them make a plan to become more physically active and to overcome the barriers that they've identified that have kept them from being physically active already. In terms of sort of serving the whole community around this, it's helpful if community health workers know the locations of parks, trails, and other places to walk in the community. Bike paths. Rhode Island has tons of bike paths, which for people who either like to walk or to ride their bikes or even to rollerblade are a great resource and free. You could create a list of free or low-cost physical activities that people can do in the community or nearby communities, including things like shopping mall walking programs, where in the cold weather or when it's very hot out, people get together in a small group and walk around the mall. A lot of YMCAs have sliding scale fees, and so it makes the membership affordable to people. Some people's workplaces have exercise programs, and many of the cities and towns in Rhode Island have recreation programs for children, teens, and sometimes for adults at very low cost or sometimes free. You can research which health plans offer free or reduced fee gym memberships, and that can help people afford gyms if that's something that they want to use. You can encourage community centers and churches and synagogues and mosques to sponsor free exercise programs such as dance class, soccer leagues, Tai Chi, or walking groups. So there's a lot you can do to promote physical activity. Now you can explain the benefits of physical activity, list recommended amounts of physical activity for adults and children, describe ways to support community members to increase their physical activity. Congratulations on completing Module 8. Remember to go to the Google Classroom to complete the assessment for Module 8, Healthy Eating, Weight Control, and Physical Activity. The next module, Module 9, will be focusing on patient-driven healthcare.